Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of In the Spotlight. I'm Mike Panici, and this song is pretty fitting. It's by Natalie Merchant, and it's These Are the Days. And, you know, this group of people we have on today have had quite a season, quite a last few years, and it is my honor to introduce. They are members of the Shelton AYF fourth grade team, which is currently undefeated. We have with us the head coach of that team, Tony Gianpoalo, Aiden Gianpoalo, and Kayleb Martin. And guys, I want to thank you for coming on today. It's a real honor. And Coach, first off, let me ask you this. Tell me about the pandemic last year and how it affected you and the boys. You weren't able to have a season. How tough was that for you guys?
I'll tell you what, we had so first of all, how you doing, Mike? How's everything? Thanks for having me on.
Good,
first of all.
Yeah, no problem.
So last year, 2020, it was a rough season. We actually had a partial season, I should say. We had 5 games. We started August like we usually do. No contact. Kids had to stay away from each other to, whatever the 6-foot rule was. I mean, everything was outdoors, so the rules were a little different as opposed to indoors. So we were able to actually have no contact practices 2 or 3 days a week up until I think the second or third week in September when they approved youth football to have contact, which then we put on helmets and pads and so on and so forth. And we were able to have, tackling practices, contact, blocking, things of such like that. We ended up having 5 games. We played Monroe twice, Southington twice, and Newtown once. And so they also got approved to play football in their hometowns. A lot of towns and cities were not approved to play last year because of obviously the pandemic and COVID and stuff like that. So we did have a partial year. We ended we started mid to late September, and we ended on November 7th last year or 6th around there. So we were able to get 5 weeks in. We didn't miss any games because of COVID or anything like that, luckily. It was, like I said, we had a pretty decent season. We were 4-1 last year. A lot of kids played tackle for the first time, and it was good. It was a good season last year, and it's even better this year.
Right. So let me ask you, Coach, before last year, a lot of these boys, and did you yourself coach flag football? Did they play flag football first, or how did AYF start for a lot of these kids?
For a lot of them, we started in flag for 1 year, played for Michigan, the Michigan Wolverines up there in their, I think the JV program, I believe it's called. And then we went right over to tackle, me and Aiden, in 2019. I assistant coached with Coach Adam Roscoe. He's the head coach of the 5th grade team now. So 2nd and 3rd graders play together. So at the time, Aiden was in 2nd grade. So I assistant coached Roscoe, who's his son's Declan Roscoe. He was at 3rd grade at the time, which, like I said, now they're up in 5th grade. But that was my first year in AYF, and then 2020 last year, I took over the team, became head coach of last year's 3rd grade and 2nd grade team, and obviously we're in 4th grade now. So Aiden this is his 4th year of football total, his 3rd year in tackle. Kayleb has played, I believe, 2 or 3 years in flag. 2 years in flag for Nebraska, and this is 2nd full year playing tackle football.
Right. So yeah. Aiden, I'll start with you. Let me ask you, buddy. How did the love for football begin for you? I mean, are you a big football fan before this? I mean, how did you start liking football?
I started when I started football, I started flag, and I started getting into football, so I went to tackle.
Right. And what position did you play your first year?
For flag?
Yes. Yep.
Running back, I think, or no, wide receiver.
They moved everybody everywhere. So
yeah.
Wide receiver, right? So let me ask you, that first year of flag football, did you enjoy playing it a lot? It wasn't tackle, but you did get to learn the game of football a little bit and, kind of get an idea of what it's like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had a lot of fun with that?
Yeah.
Right. So, Kayleb, let me ask you this, buddy. Let's ask you, you did 2 years of flag football, then you went to tackle. How was the first year of flag football for you? Did you have a love for football right away?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what position did you play the first year?
Quarterback.
Right. And you play any defense?
Yeah.
Right. And let me ask you, Kayleb, what do you like playing better, offense or defense? Because they're both important, but it seems like you love being on the field. You play anything.
Defense.
Right. So, Coach, let me ask you this. These kids basically went to tackle football, their second, your son, it was his 2nd year. Obviously, Kayleb had 2 years of flag. But, I mean, it's never easy to go right into tackle football when you're 7 or 8 years old. How was the adjustment, would you say, for a lot of these kids that first year?
I think it was actually terrific. Last year, obviously during the COVID year, we had a lot of time to work on speed and agility with them. And then when we got into like actually hitting, full contact and stuff like that, partial contact and the full contact, we started from the ground up. I mean, you have to start with basics from on a knee, then breakdowns, stances and starts, so on and so forth. It's all basic fundamentals, like when it comes to tackling or any type of stance and starts at any position. They adapted very well. I have to say, I'm very proud of my boys on the team. I mean, they're very athletic. I mean, they picked up tackling very, very quick. Like I said, they did a great job last year, great job this year. But they did adapt very well from flag coming over. Flag's a good program, especially when the kids are young,
Right.
Maybe first year or two, maybe 2 or 3 years possibly. But, in the end, you want to end up in tackle football because that's, they're going to go to Shelton High School, hopefully play for Shelton High or one of, obviously, they go to St. Joe's or something like that, whatever. But, we're hoping that they all go to Shelton High and play up there. That's the goal here, for youth football and, to have them learn, have fun, and eventually get there. But all in all, they did a great job last year. I mean, some of these boys never played a sport before in their life, and they picked up tackle football very, very quick. They all adapted very, very well. They do a good job on and off the field, so there's absolutely no complaints there whatsoever.
Right. And Coach, let me ask you, do you encourage these boys, on Friday nights to go see Shelton High play, especially if they're home and stuff like that, just so they could kind of get an idea of an older group of players playing and stuff like that and kind of see the type of things they do and stuff like that?
Oh, 100%. Yes, absolutely. I remind the kids every week, every home game, even away games. If they want to drive, I let them know, hey, listen, there's an away game in Cheshire or, Trumbull or even NFA out in Norwich. I mean, I definitely encourage them to go. I mean, they see how the system works out there. I mean, they know Coach DeFelice. They know a bunch of the players that are up there. Coach Stanko also coaches our 6th grade team here at AYF. He's the head coach there. And he's there, I believe, he's their line coach or D-line coach up there at the high school. So we have very, very close relationship with the high school kids up there and also staff coaches, so on and so forth. So I do encourage it heavily. I mean, the boys get together, they root on they root on Shelton, the Gales, and they get to see where they're hopefully going to eventually play one day, at their home stadium up there at Finn Stadium.
Right. And, Coach, when I talked to Dave Jones, who coaches the 3rd grade team, I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. One of the things I asked him about was, teaching kids at a young age like that to know offenses, defenses, coverages, stuff like that. Is that difficult at times for the coaches? Because these are very young boys and girls. They're only 8 and 9 years old. So, I mean, it's not always easy. That's a lot of stuff to retain. How do you guys go about doing that?
Well, it's simple as like I said, back to fundamentals and basics. We started practices off with warm ups. This is even going back to last year. And that obviously changes as you get older, but generally, especially at this young age, you want to warm them up and get them right into like individuals, individual positions and see who fits where, who does a good job where, so on and so forth. And if you put a certain kid at a position and you want them to excel at it, then you have to work with them. I mean, you have to, if one kid just keeps, doing it over and over again and, messes up here and there and stuff like that, you make sure as a coach, you pull them aside, you spend an extra 5-10 minutes with them, say, hey, listen, here's what you do. Instead of stepping left, you step right, and so on and so forth. So it doesn't get difficult. You just need a little patience, especially at 8, 9 years old, sometimes 10, so on and so forth. I mean, it's actually good coaching these boys because once they succeed and they do well in it, you as a coach, you're proud as a coach, any coach at that, any sport.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, our team, like I said, our kids, they picked up very, very well. Last year there might have been a couple confusions, like with run blocking and being on the D line and trying to get by, and they would engage when they should be getting through. So right. That's the only big thing I saw last year with second and third graders last year when we were coaching is that when you teach a kid how to run block, which is the most basic block in football, then when they're on the defensive line or trying to get by on defense, they engage too long instead of trying to get by and get the ball. That's one thing you have to differentiate, especially at a young age. But that was the only thing I saw that was of any significance, but even that wasn't a big problem. So, but like I said, our team did very, very well picking it up, separating offense and defense. Still to this day, they pick up on either offense or defense. They know one or the other, and they understand the game very, very well.
Right. So Kayleb, let me ask you, buddy, tell us what the first week of practice is like, because I know there's a lot of conditioning and stuff. So what do you guys kind of do that first week to kind of get ready for the season?
We basically worked on like our speed and agility and just like catching, and we would see where different people
need to be on their positions.
Right. And yeah. And buddy,
weaknesses.
Right. And Kayleb, you guys give up a lot. Your summer basically kind of comes to an end August 1st, and you have to have practice every day and stuff like that. And, just talking to you in the past, you get so excited, when 1 o'clock in the afternoon comes, you're counting down the hours. How pumped do you get before practice? I mean, can you not just wait to get out there and go play?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of fun, right? Right. So Aiden, let me ask you this, buddy. You guys have had a tremendous year on defense, obviously. Talk to me a little bit. Who are some of the guys on defense for you guys this year? Start with the secondary.
So who's on defense now? Oliver, me, Kayleb, Vincenzo, TJ, Jason, right. Zach, all those people.
Right. And what do you play on defense, Aiden?
Linebacker.
So, that's an important position because, a lot of times you got to make, the majority of the tackles. That's what the linebackers, that's their job to do and stuff. I mean, you have to always pay attention to where the ball is going. You have to read the play right. So it seems like you really enjoy playing that position, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now do you play any offense or are you strictly defense right now?
No, I play both.
Right. And what do you play on offense?
Quarterback, tight end.
Right. And which one do you prefer? I mean, the tight end gets a lot of, passes thrown to them. It's an important position. They have to block and catch. Do you have one you prefer over the other?
I think quarterback a little bit more.
Right. Coach, let me ask you this. You've also had a lot of guys or kids come out for the first time this year. And, that's the one thing I see when the couple games I went to this year is how improved each player who's new to the team comes out. I saw a kid who he's playing defensive tackle and he may not be the biggest kid out there, but boy, he goes out there and he really, gets to the quarterback.
Oh yeah.
And it's just a credit to the coaching staff and stuff. So, talk to me a little bit about the coaches you have on that team because they do an outstanding job. These kids are always well prepared and they do their assignments, so good. Talk to me a little bit about the coaches.
Well, yeah, I'll name I have myself and we have 8 total. So it's myself and we have Coach Andrew Zabendin, Coach Dan Latrella, Travis Arnett. We have Lee Berardi, Mike DeVesta, Jason Neves. All right. And, we have, like I said, we have an excellent coaching staff there. I mean, without the coaches, there's, without them, I mean, I'm very thankful to have the guys I do that help coach and stuff like that. I mean, they all have a football background and they all know how to coach well with the kids and so on and so forth. I mean, it's good to see, it's actually, it's good because you know what, it's one thing to know the game of football, but it's another to coach, young kids and coach youth and teach them the game and so on and so forth. You almost got to be I mean, they're going to call you coach the rest of their life. So you have to, set a good example for them and a good role model. And, it's, football, on the field, it's a place they can go outside their house, outside of school where they can have fun, and, hit a little bit and tackle and get all the fun out of their system, and I think our coaches do a great job. I mean, our staff is terrific. I mean, all the way through. I mean, we have a great, I think from top to bottom, coaching to talent, to players, to even the team moms, to the parents in general. It's volunteering their time. I mean, Jamie Sandin, Lauren Neves are my team moms. Ruth Lesko, Caleb's mom.
Right.
Then we have moms who, Kim Arnett, Debbie White, Lizette Romanchik, Danielle Berardi, and other moms I didn't mention. I mean, all of them, all 21 of them. I mean, they're terrific. I mean, they help out big time, whether it's halftime, for snacks at halftime, concession stand stuff, raffle tickets, any type of fundraisers, any after tailgating, like post game tailgating, I should say, they arrange that. Our team's very close knit. It's very tight, and we all get along. I mean, I think it's terrific from top to bottom. It's like a well-oiled machine. So I'm very thankful to have the team that I do have. I mean, all the way from top to bottom. So.
Right. And, Coach, I noticed this in the third grade league, and I also see it in your league. And it's really something that I think is a great job by the league that it does. Is third grade, it has 2 coaches on each team standing out there while the plays are going on. And then fourth grade, it has at least 1 coach out there. How important do you think that is? Because these are still young kids, and it's really hard to kind of, give, advice from the sidelines and stuff like that, you really have to have somebody on the field at that age.
Yes, at second and third grade, yes, I think you do need coaches on the field, 100%. And because, like I said, a lot of times it's their first year playing, and like the discipline isn't there yet. Especially, I mean, even fourth and fifth grade, sometimes it's just like, getting in a huddle, getting the plays off, and understanding how to execute a play, and so on and so forth. Like it's important for coaches to be out there at that young age. Now, our grade in fourth grade, we were allowed to have 2 coaches on the field for the first 4 games. And then fifth game on, it's only 1 coach on the field on both sides, the offense and the defense. And now we're in playoffs. We don't have coaches on the field anymore. So, I mean, last week we had our first playoff game last week. We played Guilford, and no coaches were on the field. And we did a terrific job. I mean, our players stayed disciplined out there. They didn't fold into pressure. I mean, I think we made more mistakes as coaches than the kids did on the field playing. So it's just getting the plays out there to them, and we grab the closest kid to our sideline to run the play out to the quarterback, or Kayleb over here, he runs plays in and out. I mean, he's like a genius. He's like a coach on the field in general. I mean, he wakes up and watches ESPN and NFL Live for his school. It's very dedicated. So he's a big part of the offense, like calling the plays, like as far as running them in, or if somebody's for example, in football, you have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage, 4 off. So if we have five men in the backfield, he'll make the adjustment to go ahead and say, hey, listen, you got to move up, get 1 yard up or 1 yard off, so on and so forth. So, like I said, it went smoother than I assumed, than I thought it would this past Sunday. We ended up taking out Guilford. We have another playoff game tomorrow at 1:00, which will be the second game that we didn't have coaches on the field, obviously, because of playoffs. So, but, I'm hoping we did the same job we did last week, come out with the win.
Right. Now, Kayleb, let me ask you, I had Aiden tell us about the defensive side of the ball. Just tell us a little bit so people could get an idea. Who's on the offensive side of the ball for you guys? Talk about the offense a little bit.
So our linemen are Leighton at tackle, Nate at guard, Berardi, AJ Anthony Berardi at center, Logan Elliott at guard on the right side, and then right tackle is Jackson Sandin, and our quarterbacks Oliver Romantic, and our running backs Vincenzo Capuano, and then on the left side, our outside guy on receiver is Mikey DeVesta, and then me on the left side is slot, and then on the right side, outside is Travis Arnett, TJ, and then on the slot on the right side is Zach Wilson.
Right. And Kayleb, that line does an outstanding job blocking. I mean, it makes it easy for yourself, Oliver, the other guys to get holes through and stuff. How good has the offensive line been for you guys this year?
All right. It's been pretty good. A couple games they didn't do great, but they still stayed in there and blocked well. Right.
And Aiden, let me ask you this, buddy. Let's we know you love football and stuff, but do you play other sports as well? I believe you've played basketball and baseball before, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, you play sports year round. You just love to be competing in something, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do you like playing more, basketball or baseball?
A little more basketball.
Right, and you didn't really get a season last year at basketball, so how excited are you to get one back this year? Because I know it's going to start in December, so how cool is that going to be for you?
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. So, Coach, let me ask you this. I mentioned this earlier, some of the first-time players that have come out for the team, and they've really you could see when you guys substitute them in and stuff, they do a great job. Everybody is very coachable. Just talk to me about some of the new kids who came out for the team this year.
All right. So new kids that came out for the team this year. I think 4 or 5 kids are from the Shelton Siege baseball program. Dan Luttrell did a great job, recruiting along with Coach Berardi and things like that. We have I think Vincenzo Capuano, AJ Berardi, Leighton Latrella, Chris Soto, Brady White, Timwani Johnson, also Jadier Molina. Those are 7 new. I think those are 7 we had. those are the new first-year players this year, and they all do a great job. I mean, Chris Soto got his first catch 2 weeks ago at wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, it's moments like that where you're proud as a coach, whether it's a Dean Lyman who gets his first sack or tackle for a loss, a kid catches his first pass or runs the ball for the first time, and they do a great job at it and get a 20-yard gain. I mean, that's where you find diamonds in the rough, and all of a sudden sometimes kids can mess around in practice and maybe not take it seriously, but then when you give them the ball in the game, they perform, and that's huge, and they're doing a great job this year. I mean, 4 or 5 out of those 7 kids are starters. They stepped right up to the plate. I mean, Leighton and AJ Berardi doing a great job on the line. I mean, AJ Berardi's he's our starting center. Snaps very, very well. I mean, Leighton Latrella, he's on our left side of the line. He's a beast. I mean, became a beast out of nowhere, and he loves the game. And these are kids that played baseball and other sports for the past 2 or 3 years, and they're new to football. And Vincenzo, he's basically a starting running back, number 99. He's an animal. I think he's in his right sport now because he's great at. I mean, he's great at baseball too. He swings the bat like a maniac. It's awesome. But he's a great football player on both sides of the ball. And then obviously all our returners, obviously the kids who returned from last year and the year before. I mean, they all got better as we went along and are continue to get better, and they're progressing very, very well. And like I said, it's like also new coaches that we brought on too. We brought on I think 3 or 4 new coaches. I don't think I mentioned Coach Bill Sandin before. That's when I forgot, but he's been coaching for I think since 1980 or 1981. So that's Jackson Sandin's grandfather, and he's having him there as well on the coaching staff. He's a big part of our coaching staff too, and he brings that old school feel to like new school football, which is nice. Very knowledgeable. I mean, like I said, all of our coaches have a huge football background, whether they played through college, coached, or played in high school, so on and so forth. And like I said, he's been coaching he's also an official too, so it's good to have an official on staff.
Right.
So so with the coaching staff there, the new players that came on this year, they're actually able to pick up the game very quick and adapt to a different sport that they're not getting used to. I mean, because, when you play football, it's like when you take your first big hit, you're like, oh, sometimes once in a while kids get scared, or once in a while they love it. I mean, they're 9-year-old boys. They're all like little maniacs running around. So it's pretty cool to see how quick they picked it up and how much better our second-year players and third-year players got since they started. And like I said, these new guys this year, they're doing phenomenal. I mean, all the kids I mentioned, they're doing great. And like I said, I'm very proud of them. And they came, like I said, they learned really, really quick in 4 to 6 weeks on how to play the game. And as the season went along, we're in week 12 or week 13 now total, and playoff time, and they're all doing great, all doing phenomenal. So.
Right. And, that's the thing I saw, Coach. I think I saw you guys play. I want to say it was against Southington a couple weeks ago. And, just the difference in the second game of the year to now and, how better each player's got. And, one kid I saw in particular, and I think I alluded to it earlier, he's playing defensive tackle, and he's not the biggest kid in the world, is Temwani Johnson. And he's not afraid to go after that quarterback. He may not be the biggest lineman out there, but he has a lot of heart. And that just is – number one, the dedication that he puts in, but number 2, the commitment that the coaches give to these kids each and every day to make them better. And that's the most important thing. The wins are great, but getting these kids better, throughout the season is the most important goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Temwani's one of them. I mean, I tell you what, man, he's a small skin of the team, but he plays with the biggest heart. I mean, he really does. I mean, he's made some plays out there that are just, for his size, truly amazing. I mean, and as a coach and as us, we as coaches, like, because we're a team, it's not just me, but other coaches, obviously, we as a unit take the time to coach these boys. If we see they're not getting something, like I said, we spend an extra, a few minutes with them on the side, one-on-one, and say, hey, listen, here's what you got to do. Here's your assignment. Do this, do that. And it's all about repetitions. And, our coaching staff does a great job with kids, with our boys, that sometimes things can be confusing at times, whether it's a defensive scheme or offensive play we're calling. There are times where sometimes there is some confusion, but they get through it. And you know what, like I said, there's a couple kids, like I said, who in the beginning, it was a rough start for them, and to see where they are now, it's actually very, very good to see. Like I said, that they put their heart in it. They give 110% in practice and games, and like I said, the coaches put the effort in, and like I said, we have the patience to coach them. It's a really good sight to see, and like I said, he's made some plays recently, on the defensive line that are very, very impressive. Like you said, he's not the biggest kid in the field at all, but he plays the biggest. Right. And his motor is just constantly going in 6th gear, 100 miles an hour. So it's good to see.
Yeah. Right. So this is a question for both boys, and Aiden, I'll start with you first, buddy. Let me ask you this, Aiden. It's the day of a game. You got like maybe 11 o'clock game. say it's like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, is the game on your mind the whole time? Are you thinking football? Are you, having a catch with maybe your sister outside or your father? I mean, what is your mindset in the morning getting ready for the game?
No, I just think about our game, think that we're gonna win and stuff.
Right. And I mean, are you nervous at all, or you just get so excited you don't even think about the nerves?
No, I get excited.
Right. That's awesome. And Kayleb, let me ask you, buddy, lots of times I'll see you at a game before your game and you've already got your pads on and stuff. How pumped up are you for the day of a game?
A lot.
Yeah. I mean, do you even eat or sleep, or are you just up right away? Yeah. You're just thinking about the football game. Yeah. And what's the thing you enjoy the most about the game, Kayleb? What would you say is the thing that you get the most fun out of when playing?
Probably just like tackling people and making big plays or something.
Right. And how good has it been, to play with these kids the last couple of years? Because, not only are they your teammates, but you're also making great friendships with these kids. You're getting to know them and stuff, and you're winning with them. And that's always fun too. So how cool has that been the last couple of years?
Very cool. It was nice to meet new kids and make friends. Just
right.
Like a second family, all of us.
Right. Aiden, let me ask you this, buddy. What are some of the games this year that, were really exciting for you, that kind of, where you said, wow, that was a great game we played. We did so well and stuff like that. Any particular game this year that you could think of?
Last game, because they were doing pretty good, but we came back and won a lot.
Right. And let me ask you this. How cool is it to play in front of the fans? Because you see a lot of the fans there. They're cheering you guys on. You could tell they're really into it. And, of course, you've got your dad coaching and then you've got your mom in the stands cheering for you. That has to be a great feeling because they're your biggest fans. How cool is that when, you're seeing that and the fans in the stands as well?
Well, that's really cool, too.
Right. And you must get excited when you make a good tackle and people are like clapping loud for you, standing and stuff. It has to be a great feeling.
Yeah.
Right. So, Coach, let me ask you this. You guys are undefeated right now, and, now it's your second season. You're in the playoffs. You had a nice playoff win last week. You're going to play Pomperaug, I believe, tomorrow.
Yes, Pomperaug, 1 o'clock at Shelton High. Yep.
Right. So let me ask you, Coach, these kids, I know they played 5 games last year, but they basically really only played 2 games because they played 2 teams twice, and they only played another team. So they didn't really have a lot of football like they should have last year, and yet they're undefeated right now. I mean, that's just a credit to them and the dedication they put in and the hard work they put in. Is it surprising? I mean, I know you're probably not surprised because you see it every day, but is it surprising with the schedule you guys have and the tough teams you play that you're undefeated right now?
Well, you know what, to be honest with you, I actually, so football, I know it's only about 4 months long. It's, first or second week of August through November. But I also, so a buddy of mine, Rodney Joyner, he owns Radical Athletics downtown.
Right.
It's under Route, I believe it's on Hall Street. He actually runs clinics for youth football every Saturday for us, for Shelton football every Saturday. So starting in usually February. So long story short, it's usually speed, agility, and football fundamentals, stuff like that. So our kids are constantly going year round. I mean, if they can make it one Saturday, they can make it. If not, then, so I have the boys try to get there as much as they can, at 4th grade level, actually going into 5th grade. So, when football got cut short last year, I thought about I'm like, what could the kids do from now until August to get their feet wet and get more experience and so on and so forth. And you know what? I went to Rodney, who's a good buddy of mine, and I asked him, I said, hey, listen, I know you coach a lot of high school kids and he coaches down in Greenwich for their speed and agility down there at the high school for varsity. So I asked him if he could run a clinic for our boys on Saturdays, let's say Saturdays, 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. It's an hour long. And, from February through the end of July, I mean, every Saturday we were there, except for holidays, July 4th, stuff like that, Memorial Day weekend. But, our kids are constantly, in some type of shape, at least once a week, they're doing something physical because, he holds clinics for us. Like, we have nothing to do with it as coaches. We don't go there. Like, we just drop the kids off and go. And, him and a couple of their trainers, they work out all the boys, whether it's 25, 30 kids that go. Dave's team actually showed up a few times. A few of their kids came last year too, most of the year before the season started. Also, Coach Roscoe's team from the 5th grade team, a few of their kids showed up too. So it was a good turnout. But all in all, I tell you what, for only having five games last year, one was against Newtown. We lost against Newtown, obviously. It's the only team we lost against so far. And we played Southington twice and Monroe twice, and they're both great football programs. I mean, Coach Scott Ely from Monroe is a great guy.
Right.
Runs a great team. Coach Dan Patterson up at Southington, who I'm very close with. He's a great guy, great dude, great coach. I mean, Southington has an excellent football program from high school all the way down to third grade. I mean, they're always good. I mean, everywhere, like Wallingford and, even Newtown, Monroe, like they're all strong football programs, including Shelton, obviously. But in Newtown, Coach Tommy, he actually moved to North Carolina. He's not around anymore. He moved out maybe 6-7 months ago, but I was close to Tommy before he moved out of here. He was the head coach in Newtown. They ran tight ships there too. And like I said, it was a battle all last year. I mean, we didn't, it's not like we blew any team out last year. We won by a touchdown, maybe 2 if we're lucky, and third grade, it's not really a high scoring, grade to score. It's not like they're running up the score 35-0. So, our boys from last year to this year, the transition was I'd say very, very smooth for the most part. And they picked it up very, very well, especially for not playing a full season last year.
Yeah.
But silver lining, there was a positive note in everything. Last year, we did work with them. From the first 6 weeks of the season, we couldn't contact or tackle. So, we taught them to tackle, the dummies. And we broke down with them. We were able to actually spend more time with them, actually doing fundamentals than getting into doing plays, stuff like that, because we didn't think there was going to be a season last year. And then at some point in late August, early September, they said that they didn't ban youth football. Luckily in Connecticut, until November 7th. I think it was like a 2-month overlap, so we snuck a season in there. But we were actually able to work with kids last year for, actually longer than 6 weeks, probably 7 or 8 weeks before we had our first game, and without contact. And, we got, we drilled into their head, like just fundamentals and basics of football, and speed and agility. Obviously, they were in great shape last year. They're in great shape this year. We make sure that, it was like, no player left behind. We make sure that they understand their assignments. They understand everything. If we tell them, if you have a question, raise your hand. There's no such thing as a stupid question in anything, whether it's school or, sport or a job, nothing. It's never a stupid question. I mean, unless somebody's being an idiot, but, obviously, but all in all, like I said, I think playing last year did play a big part in our success this year, because you got to understand, like there's a lot of second and third graders last year in other cities who didn't play football until this year. So a lot of fourth graders this year in other cities who didn't play, they're already a year behind. So we're already a year ahead of some of the schools that didn't, some of the cities that did not play last year. So that played a big part of our success this year too, as well. And it boils down to just coaching and hard work. I mean, like I said, we have an excellent, terrific coaching staff. Without them, it's just, it's not going to work, and, our kids, for the most part, we have terrific practices. Once in a while, they slack off here and there, which is expected. They're 9 years old. I mean, it's not the high school varsity team, so, where we're expect perfection every time, but I want my boys to, to be winners, and, I want them to strive for great things, in any aspect of life, not just football, but, school, when they get older, jobs, things like that, and, don't settle for mediocrity, basically, so this year, like I said, last year's season led to this year, and I tell you what, we picked right up from where we left off last year, and we've been, it's been a, like I said, a well-oiled machine. It hasn't stopped yet. So,
right, and Coach, I've always said this, and I really believe this to be true. Way before there was AYF, there was Pop Warner, and I always felt like it started from Pop Warner, because really, when you get to high school, you have to be ready to play. You have to know the fundamentals. So now it's AYF, because Pop has slowly disappeared. So again, AYF, it's very important for you guys to be teaching these kids the right fundamentals, because when they get up to high school, the coaches can't really spend a lot of time on that, because, they don't have the time to do that. They have to get into, offenses, defenses, special teams, everything. So these kids really have to learn all aspects of football at the AYF level. How would you agree that that's very important that these coaches are teaching these kids the right things?
Yes, actually right now, that's what youth football, we're based AYF in Shelton. We're basically like a feeder system for the high school. So, we prep them accordingly for, the Shelton high school football, varsity football team for their system, and we teach them the fundamentals and basics here, whether it's running a ball, and if you're running to the left, you put the ball in your left hand. If you run to the right, you put the ball in your right hand. You switch and make that transition. Whether basic tackling, you tackle and you wrap up below the hips. Like you don't tackle high. If you tackle high, you might get ran over. It's like those basic fundamentals. That's just a couple of many fundamentals and basic techniques that we teach kids now, so that when they get to high school, they jump right into whatever position they play. And obviously. 8th grade, is like our senior year here at youth. And you want to make sure that when you get to that 8th grade level, 7th, 8th grade level, that they're ready to go to the high school. I want to make sure in 8th grade that they're prepped to go into freshman year. And, Coach Darby takes over and, that he has a very solid team and solid football players where he doesn't have to worry about the fundamentals and the basics of these kids not doing their job properly because they weren't coached correctly. And we do, like I said, we do take extra time out to make sure that these boys, like I said, tackle properly. I mean, that's the most important key in football is basically tackling. I mean, if you can't tackle, you lose football games. Defense wins championships, and that's a true saying. And that's in any sport basically. But it is very important to teach them the fundamentals, the basics, the foundation of the sport or any sport at that. When you're coaching youth, whether it's baseball, I mean, I coach all 3 sports, and football is obviously my most important to me. And, but any sport, whether you coach basketball, teach a kid how to dribble a ball correctly or shoot a ball. Right. It starts now, like when they're in their youth ages, so when they get to, their mid-teens and they're ready to go to high school, and play up there, they're ready to go. And the coaches up there won't have to worry about any type of, like I said, basic fundamental teachings or coachings or anything like that. They can step right into a position and say, okay, hey, you're a free safety. Okay, go play your free safety, free safety. You're an edge rusher, go to edge. If you're a right tackle, go to right tackle and show me what you got. And then they can tweak it obviously the way they want to. But, we generally try to coach the kids now. We started now, using the high school system. And so when we get to 8th grade, hopefully they'll have it, I'm not saying they're gonna have it mastered, but they'll understand the playbook, the plays they call, the blocking schemes, the verbiage that they use up there for, blitzes, check downs, things like that. So, all in all, it is very important to have them start at this young age, which is basic fundamentals. And every year you re-up on them, in August, your first couple of weeks, you just go over your basic stances and starts, go off your basics, and then you get into, as they get older, they'll remember. It's muscle memory. Then the older they get, then you could jump into plays quicker. You could jump into doing this and that, moving kids around, so on and so forth.
Right. Now, Aiden, let me ask you this, buddy. One thing I saw a couple weeks ago, which I thought was really cool on your part, is I think one of your teammates, he missed the tackle or something. He was pretty upset. And you kind of patted him on the helmet. And I don't know exactly what you said to him, but, it seemed like you said, don't worry about it. You'll get him next play. I mean, is that something you do with your teammates a lot when somebody's, having maybe a rough game? You kind of try to keep them loose and, keep them fired up a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, how important is it to you, that your teammates, stay focused and that the team, because you guys are really a family. How important is that for you to make sure that, you guys all stick together?
It's important to stick together and so I don't get hurt or something.
Right. And, as a linebacker, I'm sure you have to be a leader on that field because a linebacker sometimes is a coach on the field. So I'm sure that you also have to do a little coaching on the field as well sometimes, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you do a great job and, it's really cool to watch you play. Now, Kayleb, let me ask you this. You are like the typical football player who just, he thinks about it, breathes it 24 hours a day. I mean, when the game is going on and maybe you're not having the best game that you like, do you think about it a lot or do you just say, I'm going to keep playing until I get it right? I'm going to get it right and do better. What do you feel when you're playing like that?
Just keep playing and then just get it right and just try harder. Right.
And let me ask you, how pumped are you for tomorrow? Because tomorrow's another playoff game. And if you win, you keep playing. Then I know you want to keep playing. You don't want to stop. So how pumped are you for tomorrow?
A lot. A lot.
Right. And Aiden, let me ask you this, buddy. Tomorrow's game, I'm sure there's a little nerves because, again, the nerves are from being excited and you both, are excited. The team's excited. When, say 10 o'clock comes in the morning tomorrow, are you anxious to get out there and play? What's going to be your feeling tomorrow, you think?
I want to go out there and play and win.
Right. Now, Coach, let me ask you this. If you guys do advance tomorrow, what happens after tomorrow? How does it work?
If we get by pomperaug tomorrow, then we go up to Cheshire for the championship next week. Cheshire won the bid for all the youth championships for AYF Shoreline. So, grades 4 through 8 will be playing up there. Whatever 2 teams from each level make it to the championship. I believe if we do win tomorrow at the high school, then we have to go to Cheshire High. I think the game's at either 9. I think it's 9 a.m. actually next Sunday, and that's it. Once that game's done, it's done. So the season will be over till next season. So
there's no going to nationals this year because of COVID, I would admit.
No, actually, so we're AYF Shoreline. Shoreline
Right.
is local in the state. We only go basically like the finals. It's just we have however many teams we are in our division. It could be anywhere between 12 to 16 teams depending on what age level. We don't travel to Florida. That would be AYF National. I know like Fort Stratford, those bigger cities, they travel to Florida for nationals. But we stay Shoreline, we stay stateside.
Right.
Yeah.
So coach, obviously you want to win tomorrow and you want to advance, and the goal is to win a championship. There's no doubt about it. But it's been a successful season any way you look at it. So win or lose tomorrow, one thing, that coming into next year when these boys are in 5th grade, that the future is bright, and that this team, if they stick together and they play together, they're going to do some great things, not only at AYF but probably in their high school career. So I mean, at the end of the day, it was a successful season, correct?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from what the kids learned already, I mean, and the job these kids have done this season so far, I mean, and I'm not even talking record wise about being undefeated and not losing yet. I'm just talking in general, just what they picked up in the sport alone and how these kids just grew from day one, even as young men. I mean, I've been coaching a couple of these kids for 3 years now, and they're getting older, and they're getting, they're catching on to the game pretty quick and much better. And it's a good sight to see. Like I said, they're a very, very good football team, and like I said, I see bright things for them in the future. I mean, not just with youth football, but when they go into high school, freshman, JV, varsity, high school has a pretty good squad coming up from our end. I think, in my opinion, I know it's just 1 year. I know it's just 2 years so far. I mean, there are some teams there are some teams in AYF who finish the season at number 1, and then we're in the bottom 3 or 4 the next season. So it's I mean, it's any given Sunday, it's any given season. So we just hope to stay on top. I mean, as long as our kids keep giving 110% like they have been, and our coaches keep coaching them properly the way we've been doing. I mean, like I said, coaches have been doing a great job. All the assistant coaches, they do a lot here, and they do a great job. And as long as we can keep the train rolling, I mean, I think we could have a very bright future over the next 4 seasons. I mean, we have 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th coming, and then then obviously they go to high school the freshman year. And I think that, like I said, we have a very, very successful future coming up. I mean, I don't look for an undefeated season every year. I mean, it would be nice. I mean, every coach wants that,
right?
But you can only hope for a very good season. Make sure the kids are safe, like nobody gets injured. I mean, that's number 1 is safety here. Like luckily we haven't had any injuries. Knock on wood, obviously, and that's basically key is they have fun and they enjoy the game and they learn the game. They learn from us, and then they show on the field that they have been picking it up. Something, like I said, sometimes we got a practice that's a little not 100%, I should say, but then they step on the football field and game on Sundays and they show up and they give 110%, and we come out with the win. So I mean, it's truly something good here, and I wish the best for us over the next 4 years, especially these boys. They're progressing so well and so fast. And like I said, every coach wants to win the championships, and every coach wants to be very successful, undefeated. And like I said, but as long as we keep rolling the way we are, I think we should be pretty good coming up in the future, though. Not just this season alone, but next 4 to come, and when they get to high school, hopefully.
Right, and obviously, you just touched on it, but as coaches, you want to continue to move up with these kids until they get to high school, correct?
Oh yeah. So right now the coaching staff, AYF. So the way it works is, I guess, so when you start in 3rd grade with them, you coach them all the way up till 8th grade, unless there's some strange reason why you're not. So the whole coaching staff will stay the same up until they go to high school, hopefully, God willing, obviously, and and hopefully I don't lose any kids. I mean, hopefully I keep the kids here. They all love it, and hope to get a couple more. I mean, like I said, we plan on staying together until they're done in 8th grade. And send them off to high school.
Right. And, coach, that's very important because, it's always hard for a kid to have to adjust to a new coaching staff. If they're with the coaching staff for 2 years, then they get a whole set of coaches, new coaches. That's not easy to adapt to. Same thing in high school. A lot of times teams, a kid who's a junior, his senior year may not go as well for him because they had a new coaching staff. It's a new system. So I think it's very important, in AYF to keep the coaching staff for each age group. And obviously high school, you want the same coaching staff because, that's who those kids are comfortable around and they know the system. So, it's very important that they stay together.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Right. So Kayleb and Aiden, I'll start with you, Kayleb. Before we go, what would you like to say to your teammates about tomorrow's game? Obviously you guys want to win, but what would you just say to your fellow teammates about tomorrow?
To give it their best and play 110%, and they need to realize that this is a really important game. Really important game.
Right. That's awesome. And Aiden, what would you say to your teammates tomorrow about the game? What would your message be to them?
I would say play 100%. This is an important game because if we make it, we'll make it to the championship.
All right. That's awesome. Well, you know what, guys? It was a pleasure to have you on. You boys, I'll tell you, in a few years, you can take my job. You did a great job talking. And, Coach, I really want to thank you for coming on and having a couple of the players on. I think what all of you do, you know, Dave, yourself, Adam, you know, the older groups and stuff like that. I think what you guys are doing for these kids is, you know, outstanding. And, you know, when I go to these games, the thing that I see more than anything else is how good the kids respond to what you guys are teaching them. So I wish you luck tomorrow, but win or lose, you've had a great season and great job by you and the coaches and these kids for what you guys do. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks for having us on. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you, Coach. For
right.
In the Spotlight, that was Kayleb Martin, Tony Gianpoalo, and Aiden Gianpoalo. I'm Mike Kenichi saying good night, everyone.